In an era where technology is as advanced as it is, there are plenty of options out there for taking video, all of which are pretty good at what they do. Most people obviously have their phone because they carry around that all the time. Or, if you think you have something interesting to share, you can use one of these action cameras with a mount where you can mount in various places, such as your head, or, anywhere else that might fit onto one of these mounts. And then, if you think that you really deserve it, you can go with a full-size camera for taking your videos. Everything I just listed has the ability to take lengthy periods of video, and they have for years at this point. So, it really comes as a surprise when what most people do with it is they just throw it away. As any person is acutely aware, the biggest reason for this is social media, where the fast-paced nature of it means that it has to be as quick as possible. And in the pursuit for that, whenever it comes to time to shoot anything that takes place over a long period of time, but you still have to see it quickly, the number one option is simple. It's going to be a time-lapse. There's two ways to do a time-lapse depending on which type of camera you have. The first one, which is how it is on most professional cameras, is that it will take several photos on an interval so that you can combine them later. This video is more focused on the second one, which applies to more consumer devices like phones. It will speed up the video to a certain speed. And that's where the problem lies. Whenever you select a mode, you're basically handing off the controls to your phone or your action camera. Wouldn't it be better to shoot the video real time and then speed it up later? Well, yes, it is. Now, I get that this may not sound like a good idea. After all, you're then dealing with hours and hours of footage which you have to then speed up. I truly think that in the end, it is worth it though. After all, there exist other services to handle the storage for you, such as building your own with hard drives and stuff, or if you're tech illiterate, you can use a cloud service. It's also worth noting that there exist limits to specific cameras. On most cameras to truly enable this sort of thing, you're going to need external power, either from a wall outlet or from an external battery pack. I usually shoot on camcorders, which may seem like they have absolutely no benefits whatsoever, but the biggest benefit is that you can do over 6 hours on one battery with a big battery pack. I've done 4 hours before without issues, and on power, Sony camcorders can go 13 hours before stopping. If you're attempting to do time lapses longer than 12 hours, then storage capacity, as well as other issues, is going to be other worries that you're going to have to run into. That's not to say that this does not apply to shorter stuff you can do either. You can do 20 minutes of recording, then speed it up 10 times. Also, this video doesn't really apply to social media for the short video reason that I listed earlier. This video is more for those who like the idea of seeing time lapses and just the idea of time pass by quickly, and prefer to put up a longer version of their time lapses for others to see on platforms like YouTube. I get that there are very few out there who do that, but of course there's going to be people who prefer to see the whole thing. Like me. And now that that's over, let's start off with our first advantage, and that's the fact that you're not constrained to choosing a specific speed. On an iPhone, you don't have a choice in what you're going to do, believe it or not. You just take the video, and then it'll speed it up to fit a specific time limit. I have no idea what the time limit is, but whether you know it or not, it isn't pretty. On a GoPro, you at the very least have better choices, but it's not that those choices are good to begin with. On the 13 Pro, you have 1/2, 1, 2, 3, 5, 10, 30, and 60-second intervals. On every single camera I've ever seen, time-lapse videos are done at 30 frames per second, so the minimum speed for a time-lapse on a GoPro is going to be 15 times. That's about as slow as you're going to get if you want it to be slow. And then if you want it to be 60 frames per second, which involves reprocessing the video, so whatever, your speed's going to be 30 times. So that's not that pleasant. Sure, for most instances, you're not going to need any slower than 15 times, but for those like applying some final touches, things where you want people to see specifically where something is, and where it doesn't make sense to have it fly by in 1 second, like cleaning a surface, that's very reasonable. Alright, now it's time to move on to the second advantage. At this point, this doesn't apply to every single case, so from this point onward, the different points I'm going to be making are going to apply to specific use cases. For this one, let's say you're at the camera while you're witnessing what you're trying to time-lapse, and then something happens while you're in the middle of it. Yeah, that was very exciting, but, did you get it? If you're time-lapsing it, you're hoping that you got it in one frame, and if it happened to be at the same time that the camera took a photo, that's some pretty good luck. Oftentimes, you don't get good luck though, and that's just how most of them go. Meanwhile, if you had shot that at real time, you've just gotten that in real time as well. And since most cameras shoot real-time video with audio, you've also just gotten audio of whatever it is that happened, which is another part of the advantage. In fact, if you don't need real-time video, you just wanted to pass by quickly, but you also want to have audio in the case something like that happens, you can set up an audio recorder and a microphone. And although it'll be difficult to get down precisely what happened, especially if it didn't happen on video, you'll at least have something. And incorporating a real-time element into a time-lapse would really help it a bunch in that regard if you really care about that. Alright, that was a bit of a quick one. The third use case is that if you like the video a bunch, you can also use it as a background for your video. As an example, the background footage that you're watching right now was shot in real time. You probably don't believe me on that regard, in which case you have not been paying attention to the subject matter of this video, but here it is. If you're doing that, you've basically just made your video serve two purposes, one for being time-lapse, and the second one being some background footage, which is pretty nice. I'm going to go off on a little bit of a story here because I think it's worth mentioning. A couple of years ago, my mom went on a trip to Europe with some friends, and sometime after she got back, one of the videos she showed me while showing me a bunch of what happened was touring a specific place. I obviously cannot remember what specific place it is now, but what stuck out to me was, well, first it was shot in a vertical aspect ratio, and I hate those! But also that she willingly chose to shoot it in a time-lapse mode. Her reasoning for that was, hey look, you have a cool video of us walking around somewhere, and it's a 10-minute video that was cut down into 5 seconds. I couldn't believe her logic here because, well, the video was very shaky, which is to be expected when you move the camera so much, but also the fact that she just threw away 95% of that video and all of the audio, since time-lapse video does not shoot audio on phones, just so that it could be made quick. And so I asked her, why not do a 10-minute real-time video of you actually touring the place? At least you get to see it a little bit. And she responded that nobody wants to watch such a thing. I was even more baffled by that because that is some very unreasonable logic, as if the other reasoning wasn't dumb enough already. So to illustrate this point to you just how stupid it is, let's say you want to do a lengthy video as well. For example, a room tour. You get out your phone, and before you start shooting the video, you decide that it's a very good idea to switch it to the time-lapse mode. You go around, do the whole room tour, and then you sit back at your video, proud of it, despite the fact you just made it unusable for basically any other purpose.
Oh yeah, that was pretty nice.
I know, it sounds pretty stupid as well. Moving past the story, let's cover the last use case. That case is one that seems pretty useless, but when you do it right can really pay off. You can actually vary the speed of the time-lapse. Sure, you could theoretically do that when you're using a GoPro and shooting at 15 times, that works as well, but if you're doing anything like disassembling something, or basically any case where you know something important is going to happen and you want to get it in real time, you certainly won't be able to stop this time-lapse and switch to video mode quickly enough to get in real time. Variable speed time-lapses are one of my favorite things because they have a very niche use case, and that is driving time-lapses. These days, if you want to do that, most people will just stick a GoPro to the windshield and have it run at whatever speed they desire. But on twisty roads or a forest or anything like that, that doesn't work out so well since it's moving by so quickly. Meanwhile, on the highway, you can set it to a high speed and off you are. To demonstrate this to you, I'd like to show you a variable speed time-lapse. I recorded this in California in December 2023 on the same trip as the background footage you're watching right now. This runs from Yosemite Park to Woodland, which is a little bit west of Sacramento Airport, and it runs quite a bit because I prefer a slower speed time-lapse, somewhere around 10 times. Whichever way it may be, enjoy. The journey starts in Yosemite Park just outside of the lodge area, and the destination is Sacramento, more specifically Woodland, which is west of the Sacramento Airport. This drive took about 3.5 hours, but with some speed ups, that's going to be more around the 25-minute mark. Now I'll add some music and let the drive go. Did you enjoy it? I hope you did, because I enjoyed it myself. There aren't many people out there that do driving time lapses, let alone ones at variable speed. Thus far, the only one I found is XL Bolt, mainly based in Canada, but there's also videos of highways in the northern US as well, and with a level of additional detail to background to all that other stuff about the highways that I don't know I could honestly match myself. And with that, that's this video complete. If you enjoyed it, let me know, or don't, you don't have to. If you didn't, I'm fine with that. This is my first time editing a video seriously in 3.5 years after all. And if you're watching this video soon after I release it, know that my plans are for this channel to have as much variety as possible. There might be some gaming in the mix, but I'm not into that as much anymore. I talk about something else, but I know I'm going to go off track, so I'll leave it at this. Thanks very much for watching, have a great day, and goodbye.